It's been said that experience is the best teacher. There's certainly truth to that when it comes to managing cattle health and controlling costly disease problems. Reporter Brian Baxter takes us to the Oklahoma Panhandle to visit with a longtime feedlot manager who shares how things have changed in terms of caring for cattle in feedlots.
Walt Olson brings a lifetime of experience to his job as general manager for Tri-State Feeders in Turpin, Oklahoma. He's been on the job here since 1989, and he's been working around feedlots from his earliest days.
My dad started in the feed yard business in the early 60s in Hereford, Texas, and that's where I was born and raised. And I worked at Hereford Feed Yard as a kid on a branding crew, and then my dad left Hereford Feed Yard and went to Cattletown Feed Yard in the early 70s, and when I was going to school at West Texas State, and I was working at the feed yard and going to school, and then I graduated in 77 with a BS in the ag business and economics, and I've been in the feed yard business ever since.
Most days you'll find Walt checking cattle and feed bunks starting around 5:30 in the morning. All that time spent working around feedlots, cattle, and cowboys has left a mark on Walt's approach to the business.
I think the key to any success in any business is integrity and honesty. And so, you know, your customers want you to do the best job you can for them. That's the way we do business. We just want to be upfront and honest, and if we have a problem, we'll work it out.
Of course, over the years, Walt has seen some real changes in the way cattle are managed.
You know, the one thing about the industry that's changed is that back when I was a kid, everything was a yearling that was put on feed. Calves probably didn't come directly to the feed yard. Now that has changed quite a bit. So as the cattle in the feed yard, the population has gotten younger and younger. We're getting cattle that have an immune system that's probably pretty naive, never been exposed, never has built any natural immunity to things. And so when they come in here, they're exposed to any and everything.
Walt's veterinarian, Dr. Clint Irwin, has been a vet for some 28 years and has seen the changes in cattle coming to feedlots as well.
In Walt's case, there'll be basically South Texas cattle, Southeast Texas cattle, and then Southeastern United States cattle. And those calves, a lot of them have not received any vaccines on the cow, and they're weaned and they're taken to a sale barn and maybe another sale barn, and then they're put on trucks and they're hauled long distances and end up here freshly weaned and subject to lots of problems.
Those problems can include bovine respiratory disease, or BRD. BRD is the most costly disease found in feedlot cattle in the United States. Dr. Mike Nichols, a Pfizer Animal Health senior veterinarian, says animals that are stressed are at the greatest risk for BRD.
There are multiple stresses on cattle as they go through the marketing channels. They're marketed through a livestock market where they're exposed to many other cattle, and a time period of which they're in that exposed, they're under a different environment that places stress on their system. It may be a completely different environment in temperature and moisture, rainfall. All those factors combine to result in a high degree of stress for most cattle that enter a feedlot, and then the result of that is a weakened immune system and the cattle being susceptible to the viruses and the bacteria that cause bovine respiratory disease.
Just last year, BRD cost feedlots nearly $1 billion from death loss, reduced feed efficiency, and antimicrobial treatment costs. Savvy feedlot managers are working to prevent BRD by taking advantage of on-arrival health protocols with proven antibiotics for their cattle.
Of course, the arrival protocol, which should be a collaborative effort between their veterinarian, their consulting veterinarian, and the feed yard manager, is all important, from having the best approach to preventative medicine, to preventing the viruses and the bacteria that can cause BRD. In addition, if cattle are highly stressed, and we can expect to experience high morbidity, then a control program with an extended therapy antibiotic to be aggressive and proactive in keeping BRD incidents under control is always indicated those type of cattle.
With handling the amount of high-risk calves that they do here, the number one problem is BRD. So we try to control it best we can on day one.
When they first get here, within the first 24 hours that they're here, they'll get an injection of an Excede.
Walt Olson, as a feed yard manager at Tri-State, has proven over the years that he is quick to take a look at new technology, at new opportunities, new therapies, new ways to control BRD. And when new opportunities come along, he's put them into his program, taken control of the BRD challenges in a very effective manner, and been able to be very successful with controlling BRD in the Tri-State feed yard.
The risks of BRD and the rewards for controlling it are clear, which is why Excede has fit so well into the on-arrival health protocol at Tri-State feeders.
Excede's been out a while, and it worked. I mean, from day one, it's been a pretty good antibiotic. It maintains duration of activity 7 days from one injection. We here at Tri-State, we give it at the base of the ear. It's an easy place to give it, and our withdrawal time is relatively low at 13 days.
Excede is a drug that we like because of the fact that it's a small dose and it's easy to administer. And by doing that, you know, any challenge that an animal has, this drug helps us get past that challenge, or at least gets us a foot up that our biologicals can take over and start building some natural immunity. So that's why we use it and we like it.
The flexibility of Pfizer's Excede as treatment or on-arrival control protocols go beyond traditional BRD antibiotics.
Some of our traditional antibiotics have only been effective for 24 hours to a maximum of 3 to 4 days. With Excede, we know once treated that they'll get a full course of therapy. We reduce the stress of having to handle the cattle because they can be returned to their home pen for home pen recovery rather than having to go through a hospital pen treatment. And finally, it's less labor and less stress on feedlot personnel in identifying and having to repull and retreat cattle multiple times.
If I have a healthy herd, then my employees can spend time doing other things besides pulling and doctoring cattle. You know, every economist will tell you the morbidity of cattle, you know, it affects grade, you know, it affects performance. So if you can keep them healthy, you're going to be, you know, not only do you save money on medicine, you save that they will perform better to feed bone.
Excede can be valuable for all producers. It's labeled for foot rot treatment as well as the control of BRD and the treatment of BRD. It's available in a small, low volume, single dose administration that's convenient for large producers, feedlots, as well as smaller producers, treatment of individual animals. And it's in a convenient size that's readily available to all producers.
With solutions such as Excede, along with a strong foundation of research, Walt Olson says Pfizer Animal Health is a valued resource for his feedlot, offering information, ideas, and ways to save money on treatments.
We've always had a good rapport with Pfizer. Our representative that we have here, he comes and, you know, he'll present new data if he has any. He'll ask us if we have any problems. He's willing to you know, address anything that we might have, and you know, they're a good company. They have many products that we use.
No doubt experience does count in caring for cattle, yet the more experienced a manager is, the more he recognizes the need to draw on all the help he can.
We see feed yard owners like Walt Olson at Tri-State who have a lifetime of experience, the skills, the experience, and the working relationship with his veterinarian, Dr. Irwin, to proactively address those BRD challenges, to put in preventative measures and institute control measures on arrival for those calves that are high risk of developing BRD, be very effective in reducing the morbidity and the mortality of cattle as they arrive at the feed yard. And it's that experience of a lifelong feed yard manager that allows him to use a product like Excede, 7-day therapy, and control BRD to a very manageable level in his yard.
I think experience is the best teacher of how to deal with problems, and we all have problems, and how to cope with them. And you know, there are things that that I've experienced that maybe somebody else hasn't, And the one thing about it, we all have to be humble enough to take criticism and to be humble enough to take instruction. And so I think I'm humble enough to take instruction from, from people that I respect and have and admire and things.
And that's a lesson from someone with lots of experience in raising healthy, quality cattle. Reporting from the Oklahoma Panhandle, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
Now, if you're interested in learning more about Excede for BRD control and treatment, just log on to our website at cattlemantocattleman.org.